Alright, let's start playing around with the lighting. So to start right now, I'm actually just going to render what we did after the last video, just to show you what it's going to look like. You don't necessarily have to do this because it might take a minute, but I'm going to click it and then pause the video and just give me a moment. Alright, here's our finished render. You can see that it does have a really nice hillshade in here. It's pretty much the exact same hillshade that Huffman said to use in his tutorial, but just customized for this particular region, right? The one critique of it for this particular purpose is it doesn't look very 3D, right? It's just kind of a hill-shaded USGS topo. So let's tinker with that a little bit. So we've got one light source right now, and it's at a 45-degree angle. So to make things look 3D, one thing that we can do is we can drop that angle a little bit. So let's go back to object properties for the sun, and let's change the Y rotation to 60 degrees. And you can see in the viewport that that just lowered the angle of our sun, right? So if I click on that again, you can watch that angle change. So let's start with 60. See how it looks. And I'm gonna just show you guys. Don't have to do this because it probably would be slow on your computer. But if you go to this guy and we change it now, you can actually watch those shadows change length, right, based on our angle. Kind of cool. So there's that thing. Another thing that we can change is to make the shadows a little less diffuse, a little sharper. We can change that angle of the sun. Now Huffman, well, it's the angle parameter. It really is sort of like how wide the sun is and how diffuse is it going to be. So Huffman said that 90 is a pretty solid place to start for hill shading, and I agree with that. But in our case, we probably want to make it a little bit less than that. So let's see what happens when we go to 50. Can't see that much changing here, but I'm gonna do another render and pause the video and show you what that looks like. I wouldn't bother actually doing the render yourself because it'll take a while, and we don't need to tax our computers like that. Alright, check that out now. You can see that it's much sharper with those shadows, and it actually is starting to look at first glance like it's just a photograph of a three-dimensional model. And like Jeff was saying the other day, the point of Blender hill shading is basically to do these shadow models. And now this is starting to really look like that, but it's just way too dark in the shadow areas. So how do we maintain the same like characteristics of the light, but like add a little detail and light back into those shadows? So the way to do that is to add another sun. So let's go up here and let's copy the sun and paste, and we're gonna rename that, double click it, fill sun. So what we want to do, I'm going to zoom out on the viewport a little bit. What we want to do is put that sun, so we change the angle of it so that it's basically filling in the shadows, and then make it pretty weak and make it not cast shadows. So it's just filling in those darkly lit areas. So what we can do is let's actually just move it so that it, even though the location of the sun doesn't matter, I like to put it sort of where it's going to go, like so that its light shines back onto the plane from the right angle, so you can visualize what's going on with your lighting. So now it's moved down here, and let's change the Z angle. And I'm gonna actually go back into the camera view so that we can see where it's coming in. If you go to 315, it's going to be exactly the opposite direction of the other one. I find that it works a little better if you make it so that it comes more from the southeast. So I'm going to leave it at 300. And then I'm going to get back out of the camera view. And now if you look, we have another sun that's going to be filling in our shadow areas. And the last part is we want to make it really weak and make it not cast shadows. So you select it up here or in this panel, click the light, and let's make this more diffuse so that it fills in evenly. 90. Let's make it not cast a shadow. Let's make it really weak, like 0.5, say. And now I'm going to do another render and pause the video, and then you can see the difference here. Now if we check this out, it's starting to look quite a bit better. It has the same overall look as our previous one, except that now the shadows are not quite as dark and you can read the text a little bit easier.